Okay, we're back, and I'm Susan Stageman, NLP Training Concepts, and I have a fabulous guest this afternoon, John Lunardon. He is an insurance agent, and before you go, oh, yawn, you'll want to hear him. He is really a cut above, beyond insurance. In fact, he has this little tagline that says, if you don't know insurance, know your insurance agent. And my experience with John over the years he's a pretty special guy. So I'm going to let him do most of the talking. And we want to focus our segment on the small business owner and the importance of small business business insurance, of which I have from John, because it's something that I think a lot of small business owners don't think about. And I think it's very, very important, especially with so many home businesses now. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your philosophy is, and we'll get into some, because I think it's a little bit different than most insurance guys. So, have at it.
Well, the first thing I can bring up is that I've been doing it for over 20 years, at least in the insurance industry. And one of the things that I have learned over my career, and thankfully I've had the 20-year run on it, is people, the small business owner, which of course with hard times and everything else become more prominent because people are tired of the corporate world. They get into the business because they love doing what they know best.
Right.
They don't know all the other facets of the business itself. So one thing being insurance. And it's like you trying to do surgery on yourself. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he's like, yeah, I'll do my own LASIK. Well, that's the whole point. You have to go to somebody that's a specialist to handle those particular things.
Right.
And when it comes to business insurance, that's as important, if not more important, because you've got certain assets that you want to insure, because in the event that you don't, they can be taken away, such as a 401k, those types of things, especially if you're a sole proprietor and have it incorporated. And so the thing that you can utilize in order to protect yourself is business insurance. And then making sure that it's not just this, well, I got it because I had to have it. It's get it and modify it to what your needs are.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. What are some examples of business people that you've helped, over the years that have really paid off for them?
Well, one example, and the policy that you have for your own business, is the in-home business policy. It runs $300 a year, but most people assume, especially when they're starting a small business, sole proprietor, I'm going to do this out of the house because I don't want to pay the rent, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
They just assume that either a renter's policy, if they're renting, or if they have a homeowner's policy, that the stuff inside there used for business is covered, and it's not. Texas is pretty specific on the forms that they can basically say, no, we're not going to cover any of those things, including contents, anybody getting hurt on the property, in the event that it's a business pursuit.
So even your homeowner's insurance won't cover that if, say, for instance, you have computers or office equipment in your home, or you happen to see clients there. What you're saying is that your homeowner's liability, or whatever you call it, you know more about it than I
Right.
do. All they tell me is sign up and pay the money, and so I do. But is that pretty much true? If you're operating a business out of your home, then that wouldn't be necessarily covered. It's like jewelry. Do you have to have? Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
no. What you set it up properly by saying if it's a business pursuit,
Okay.
and meaning that people are there at your property due to business. They're not there for a party. They're not there because they're a friend of yours. They're there doing business with you.
Yeah.
Then at that particular point, in the event they get hurt or whatever, there's no coverage.
Right. That's why I don't serve alcohol in
Being-
my house.
Well, and that's okay as long as it's friends over. But if you have a business policy, you automatically get, in most cases, what they call dram shop coverage. And that doesn't seem like it's a big deal unless something were to happen and then somebody tries to come after you
Yeah.
because they don't want to take responsibility for their own actions.
So, John, tell you used a word there. Explain what that word is. What is it? Dram?
Dram shop?
Yeah, dram shop. Tell us what that is.
Dram shop is a coverage that takes care of liquor liability.
Oh,
and liquor liability.
Might lick the wrong person. Sorry.
It's all right. Needed the little comical,
Just got really hot in here.
little comical relief.
But they go out and they have a horrible accident drinking at your house,
Exactly. But
your
say,
business.
But if it was,
they
yeah,
could sue you, and so now you're covered if they get a lawsuit.
that is correct. Because if you didn't have that,
Or if they fell off your porch. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have to go out and have a wreck. They could just say you impaired them.
yeah, I mean, we've had scenarios where, now this is on a personal side, and I'm not going to try to skew it, but we've had people where we've had a mother-daughter. The mother was in her 90s, the daughter was in her 70s, and she literally tripped walking up the steps and fell through a glass door, a screen glass door.
Gosh.
And, that wasn't a business pursuit. The homeowner's policy paid for the medical coverage, but that was on a personal side. If that would have been a business client, you're in a whole different ball game.
Okay.
And that's
And if
where
you've
that,
been serving alcohol, see, then that's what, and they can exempt it if that's the thing.
well, I mean, they'll exempt it just because it was a business,
oh,
not just for any particular reason of alcohol. I'm talking about if it's a business pursuit, if you're there for business, these are business clients, then this is something where people automatically just assume, well, this is covered. I've got coverage for this because I've got a renter's policy or a homeowner's policy.
yeah.
But that is not true.
Yeah. And I've personally been working out of my home. I had an office at one time. I started out in my home, then moved to an office, and now I'm back in my home again, simply because it's easier and it's a lot lower overhead. But I didn't realize when I had done that I wouldn't be covered. And John was so helpful and he kind of bugged me a while for it, but I finally
But you also
did it.
don't. She didn't need some big commercial policy either. So
Yeah,
your
and
expertise let her
that's-
get what she needed, based on having
That's what,
clients there
that's what was
and-
so
and
important.
the stuff that was there. Because if she got burglarized, how would that wouldn't have been covered under our homeowners?
No, not the business stuff, because any good adjuster with any good company, doesn't matter who they are, if they look at the scenario, they're going to figure out, okay, there's a home office here, and this is what's taking place because this is becoming so prevalent. All of this equipment is in this office. Well, what did you do in here? And most people aren't cognizant of the fact. They're going to tell them the truth. Well, yeah, my business was in this room. Okay, well, do you have a policy for that? Well, no. So all of a sudden, now you've got computers, printers, faxes, scanners, the whole setup.
Mm-hmm.
If it's gone due to a theft or something to that degree, and those things are brought up, there's no
Well,
coverage.
is it costly really to add that to have that type of policy? It seems like it
was
wouldn't be because
very
you are
reasonable.
there. Yeah, because you're
Very
there all the time. It's
reasonable.
not like
Well, it depends on the scenario. It's having someone sit down with you, and that's why I like dealing with the small business owner, because number one, I like to know the client. That's one.
That's one of John's hallmarks. Is he really does personal service, and I've known John. He's a Yoda master practitioner, taken all of my training. In fact,
Oh, okay.
I'm going to spend some time with him this weekend at the Money Clinic. To
Yep.
have his,
oh, then I'm gonna. Yeah,
her-
I'm going to that money
her
clinic.
Third
You could be
pass,
there
his
too.
third
Yeah.
pass through or fourth pass through or something like that.
my third or fourth.
Anyway, so he's very, very good at communication and understanding people's needs and asking the right questions. So that I think that in and of itself cuts him a lot above a lot of other people out there doing business or selling insurance. It's really about the customers. So
Exactly, because it comes down to this. I mean, we've all had the scenario where we've had to go to, a dock in a box, if you will. They're there to do one job, get you in, get you out, which is fine. That's okay. But they're not asking a ton of questions. They're not your personal physician. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. Somebody can throw something together, but there might be a better solution. And that solution doesn't necessarily have to cost you a lot of money. And in your case, and there's several other people that you've sent me and everything, that
yeah.
for $300 a year, we're knocking out, for $1 million worth of coverage, it's $300
Is
a
that
year.
like an umbrella policy? Can you do something? I mean, of course, that's always a good policy, especially if you have a lot of assets. Because even if you have the insurance, I would think on your business, if you have a lot of assets, they can come after your own, and a lot of people, because it runs out of limits.
That's right.
You know, if there's real heavy negligence, well, I worked in the legal field, so that's why I talk like that. So, you know, getting you can also assess what do you own, and what are your other things that people could come after, and what, you know, reasonably would be the likelihood that something catastrophic, I guess, would happen to somebody. But you never know.
Well,
My dad has an umbrella, like $1 million umbrella policy.
Well, and I do a lot of those, and there's two different types. There's a personal and there's a commercial. And you brought up a great segue for me to actually kind of break into something else, because especially the small business owner, whether they're incorporated, not incorporated, there are certain assets that people can go after, such as a 401k. Now, I didn't realize that.
Except for OJ's.
Well, because everything was in annuities and everything was in life insurance, and that's one
Okay,
of those
there you
things.
go, folks.
So there's
Call
ways
your
to
financial advisor.
exactly, and that's something else that we can transition you to, and
So
that's
you do
something else
asset
that we do.
protection also.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do. We work. You know, we have some friends of ours that we know that we can work with.
And that
to
isn't
protect
insurance,
those.
that's just where you put your money. Could make a big difference on whether it's liable to be taken.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But with all those things being said, you know, that's exactly what you're doing. People, they go out and buy a new car, they're excited about calling the office. Oh, I got a new car. Because they want to protect that $20, $30, $40, $50,000 asset that they just bought. But if you own a small business, that's not only your paycheck, which ought to be one of the biggest things, but now all of a sudden you may employ employees. You've got people that are depending on you. So why wouldn't you insure that same asset with the same vigor that you would going out and getting that new car that you've been wanting to get?
Because